We have a new trade update for the Sacramento Kings. Of course, the entire discourse regarding Sacramento has been around De'Aaron Fox and the trade updates and everything that's happening on that front, but Sacramento wants to stay competitive and they are pursuing an elite wing out there from the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, there are some interesting packages that the Kings can put together to make this happen, which could help them add some flexibility to this team moving forward to the future. So lots of stuff to dive into to break down out there in this video, but of course the NBA has been completely just turned on its head over the past couple of days with De'Aaron Fox, his trade getting out there into the whirlwind, and then of course just probably the most shocking trade in sports history happening last night with Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis getting swapped from the LA Lakers and Dallas Mavericks. But this is shaping up to be the craziest NBA trade deadline in NBA history. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with it, frankly, on the Sacramento Kings front, and you're part of the 83% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, make sure you guys hit that sub button so you don't miss a single thing that's going on as we continue down the most insane NBA trade deadline, insane week out there in trade basketball history, whatever you want to call it. But we have some things to sink into, and of course, everything that's not, De'Aaron Fox, everything that's not, Fox getting dealt or anything along those lines might feel a little bit underwhelming to a lot of Kings fans, because this is the big domino that's initially has to fall for Sacramento to really understand first what their roster is going to look like heading into the rest of the season, heading into the future. These are the moves, these are the inflection points for your franchise, and there are a lot of options out there on the table for De'Aaron Fox. Of course, his favorite is the San Antonio Spurs, but there's the Rockets, there's, the T-Wolves getting in the mix now, the Raptors have been named as a potential team. There are teams that are interested in acquiring De'Aaron Fox and putting together some very interesting packages for the elite point guard out there in Sacramento. So we're not sure what specifically is going to be involved in those packages, but Monte McNair needs to make sure that he is ready to go. He is ready as soon as a deal is out there on the line, that he's going to be able to make something that makes a ton of sense for Sacramento. He has to get the negotiations ready. He has to have a package out there ready to go for depending on whatever we end up accepting out there for Sacramento. And then, of course, Caleb Martin, you saw it in the thumbnail, you saw at the beginning of this video, he is the most recent name linked. Essentially, from Keith Pompey, locked-in Sixers beat reporter, he came out and said that, meanwhile, a source said the Lakers and the Sacramento Kings are conducting their due diligence on a potential trade for Caleb Martin. The source said that Miami Heat are also contemplating reacquiring their former key role player, who is making $8.5 million this season, and he signed a 4-year, $35 million contract with the Sixers on July 6th after spending the previous 3 seasons with Miami. So this is very, very intriguing. So the Lakers, who of course are linked to every single name out there in the NBA, and realistically they can get him because, frankly, they just acquired Luka Doncic, and he is probably one of the most top 3 untouchable, tradable guys out there in the NBA, and he didn't even request a trade. Shocking stuff there, but competing with the Lakers as well as the Miami Heat for Caleb Martin. So who the heck is this guy? What is he good at? So Caleb Martin this season for a bad Philadelphia 76ers squad, 29 years old, averaging 9 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 2.2 assists, shooting 38% from behind the 3-point line, and he shoots 56% out there on corner threes. So he is a very good wing player. He can have a serious impact out there on both ends of the floor for Sacramento, regardless of how this roster is kind of shaping up. If the Kings do go down a rebuilding route, he's not that ideal of a fit because he is 29. They're not going to get a lot more development out of him, but he's on a very reasonable contract, especially with the cap rising in the upcoming seasons. He's a 3&D player. He can come in, fit whatever kind of role you're looking for, and he's a sneaky good defender. He's been effective on that end of the court, especially for the Miami Heat during those series, whether it's in the playoffs or it's the regular season. Caleb Martin's just very, very good at basketball. So definitely a player that I'd be very intrigued by if I'm Monte McNair to bring in, regardless of the direction you go, assuming it's not completely rebuilding package. Like if the Kings make a move that's 5 first-round picks for De'Aaron Fox, then bringing Caleb Martin just doesn't make a ton of sense. But there are some packages that do make sense if this team is expected to stay good, which by all accounts, by all recent reports, it makes sense as the direction for Sacramento. They don't want to go on that sort of immediate tear down by dealing away De'Aaron Fox. So the first trade package just makes money sense, makes straight up sense, is Trey Lyles out there for Caleb Martin. You can kind of get the package going there at this point if I have it. Yeah. So the money works straight up. these two guys, essentially what you're doing is you're giving the Philadelphia 76ers more cap flexibility, because Caleb Martin's on a very reasonable contract. We can bring it up again. It's 3 years, or you signed a 4-year deal with $8.5 million per year, roughly annually. So he's a guy that's locked in for multiple seasons. So Philadelphia, if they want to get off some cap, they want to have more flexibility into the offseason. Essentially what this move does with Trey Lyles and the Sacramento Kings is you're essentially swapping out, because the Sixers aren't worried too much about their performance this year. They're a complete mess. Joel Embiid's been injured. We don't really know what's happening. Jeremy McCain's out for the rest of the season. So they want to bolster some forward depth, regardless for this year or not, but also add an expiring contract versus a guy that's on the books for multiple seasons. This makes a ton of sense for Philadelphia. And Trey Lyles isn't even bad. He's a guy that I'm sure the Sixers wouldn't mind having within the organization for a longer time. Essentially, Trey Lyles this season's averaging 7 points per game, 5 rebounds. His 3-point shooting percentages are obviously weaker, but of course, the Kings need some 3-point shooting, and Caleb Martin would be an improvement, but you are taking out a guy at 6'9" for a guy at 6'5". You're essentially moving a forward from a guy that's more of a naturally a guard. So, we know that the Kings do have I don't want to say a log jam, but there's a lot more shooting guards, wing players out there on this team than there are forwards. So this is concerning a little bit if a move does happen out here on that front. But the Kings, again, this is sort of a move that just makes a ton of sense if this roster gets reshaped. And we can't evaluate whether or not it's a perfect move, it's an ideal trade, unless we know what the return is for De'Aaron Fox. We know if he's going to be on the team. We know what's going to happen out there on that front. But there's also an avenue where I'm not sure the Sixers would be as keen on one of these deals, but trading Kevin Huerter to the Philadelphia 76ers, because he's on a almost double the money contract than a Caleb Martin, but less years. So maybe if Monte McNair really wants to get fun, really wants to get crazy with the cap stuff and bring in a very reliable 3.3 player, then you send Kevin Huerter to the Philadelphia 76ers, and they have 2 years of him, but I think if making one of these moves, they'd be more intrigued by one of these cap flexibility maneuvers. So that's kind of the selling point. That's the reason why the Kings would be able to slide in and get a move. If they're trying to make win now moves, the Caleb Martin for Trey Lyles just makes a ton of sense. But it all can only be judged once De'Aaron Fox, the decision, the move, the package is actually out there on the table, and then the Kings have to get something going. So that's why I predict this Kings trade, the De'Aaron Fox move, to be done with a little bit of a buffer heading into the trade deadline, because of course then allows Monte McNair, allows whatever teams that's acquiring him to reshape their roster a little bit. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys have the best thing this far. Again, absolutely crazy last sort of 24 hours out there in the NBA. So you want to stay up to date with it all, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.